Stoicism is about acting in the world.
What is Stoicism?
Yeah, Stoicism is the art, I think you could say, is the art of having a calm mind. You could say that, by acceptance of reality.
Okay. I only recognise the word in general parlance to mean not giving up, someone who can really grit their teeth and stay put. Am I wrong? Is that what it usually means?
Okay, well, another way that it's commonly thought of in the common parlance of Stoicism is it's somebody who doesn't show emotion. That's another...
Oh, stoic, like...
Yeah.
Deadpan.
And it's actually neither of these things.
Okay.
From my understanding, which is not that great, I've got a lot of things to read and to think about, but Stoicism, ideally, is the ability to master your mind. Because one of the principles of it is that some things are in your control and some things are not in your control. And if you can accept the things that are not in your control, you can be calm with things. I've experienced this kind of by chance, I suppose. I was in a number of extreme situations on my adventures, and I remember thinking something, accepting the possibilities of what might happen, and feeling that anxiety vanish. Just like, well, if something bad happens here, that's what it's going to be, and I'll handle it when it comes.
Yeah.
That's the principle, one of the main principles.
Absolutely. So, just to recap Stoicism, we mentioned pessimism last time.
Oh, yeah.
These are, again, words that have a meaning in a general parlance, but in philosophy, there's a more nuanced definition.
That's right.
And Stoicism in philosophy means to accept the situation around you.
One of the things is called amor fati, which is Latin, is love of fate.
Amor
fati.
Amor fati. Okay, love
of fate.
Yeah, yeah.
And that could summarise it, because that's what it means, is to accept what happens to you. It's about controlling the judgments. Like if something happens to you, you could say, is it good, is it bad? It's your judgment upon that determines how it affects you. It's not an easy task. They say a true Stoic has never existed, because it's be a godly task to master that. Full mastery of your mind. Like maybe you'd be realising that this might be some sort of game that we're in.
And is this coming from Greek philosophy? Where is this coming from?
Originated in Greece. Xenon, I think that was the first Stoic, and it was brought to its fullness in Rome.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the most famous Stoics is Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
If you've heard of him,
Yes,
the last good emperor of Rome, they call him.
Yeah.
And Seneca as well. There's a book I need to read. It's The Shortness of Life and Letters to a Stoic or Letters from a Stoic. One of those by Seneca.
Okay.
It's
by
good,
Seneca.
man. Yeah.
And this acceptance of fate, you were saying earlier, it doesn't come up in the Eastern philosophy, or you don't see how it is relevant to Eastern philosophy.
Right, well, I mean, I'm dealing with something that I don't understand well. Okay. Like I said to you, I don't know Eastern philosophy, so I can't really say anything definitive. The thing that I do take from it is that Stoicism is about acting in the world. Okay. It's not about giving up your responsibility.
Okay.
It's about accepting some things you can't change.
So you don't become passive.
No, it's about taking the things that you can affect and living them to the fullest, which is mainly it's your perception, your opinion on things, your character. Yeah. These things you can control, so you should master them.
Yeah, because if you go too far down the road of it's all God's will and what will be, you wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't get out of bed.
Well, you might not. You might end up becoming nihilistic. Okay. In a sense, for sure.
Do you think that Islam, that goes on about God's will and acceptance, I think acceptance is a huge factor in Islam, and people talk about accepting Islam and submitting to God's will. Do you think that might have been influenced by these Greek philosophers? Or is it just common sense and everyone has this?
It's definitely not common sense, for sure.
Okay.
I would say because no, but it's a good point to make.
Is it in every culture somewhere?
Yeah, I'd say so.
A desire to accept what we can't change. It's a coping mechanism, maybe.
You could look at it that way, but you could also look at it as a realization of reality. Certain things, as far as we understand, we can't actually affect. Like if some catastrophe befalls us that we couldn't foresee, that was presumably by chance, then what's the point is there utility, is there benefit to be derived from trying desperately to control that? No, you drive yourself insane. You have to come to. I've read certain things about people in war. You heard of Jocko Willink? It's quite popular on YouTube these days. He wrote a couple of books as well as ex-Navy SEAL. He's talking a lot about discipline and basically Stoicism and discipline, control of your own mind. And he talks about the same thing. To be able to maintain a sense of control in war, you have to control what you can and accept the possibility that, you might... Oh, come on, bro.
Guys, please be careful, bro. Please be careful. I will not accept it.
Yeah, right. That would be pretty...
If that football
Some guys almost
smashes
knocked
my
over the camera, eh? Football.
Yeah, but, well... Oh, man. I don't know.
So you were saying about the acceptance of the will of God in Islam and things like this. I mean, I think that's in a different way from it's meant to be understood in Stoicism.
Okay.
But of course, there's many. I would say everybody's got their own interpretation of everything.
And in Christianity as well, "Thy will be done."
Right.
It's the Lord's Prayer. And we were saying earlier that could make you never do anything.
Yeah.
I mentioned that the Reformation, people attribute the Protestant work ethic to the reason why the Industrial Revolution followed the Reformation and the Enlightenment in Europe. I believe it was the idea that Protestants who believed in predestination. They believed that whatever was God's will would be God's will, and you were only saved if God decreed that you were. But a sign that you were destined to be saved was the fact that you were hardworking and producing.
I see. Maybe it's self-fulfilling.
So yeah, so self-fulfilling prophecy. It's sort of counter-intuitive. If it's all destined, there's nothing I can do to change it.
Yeah.
But I can convince myself that I'm destined for something good.
Yeah.
And I was saying that the other part of the world that became very advanced technologically is the Far East, which is more influenced by Buddhism and Taoism and Shinto and these Eastern religions. And do they believe in predestination and accepting God's will? Maybe not God, but in terms of Buddhism, Buddha taught that all life is suffering, and to free yourself from suffering you must give up all desires, but the desire to be free of suffering is in and of itself a desire.
It's a paradox.
It's a paradox.
That's right.
It's cyclical, but they must have been doing something right as their societies have bloomed.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. It's something I need to do more research on myself, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a cursory understanding of Buddhism, just the very bare basics in order to teach it at secondary school level. But we all have our perceptions of what we think the Far East are like, and they're very Zen, aren't they? Even in terms of martial arts, you got traditional Eastern martial arts, judo, jiu-jitsu, very much about taking the opponent's strength and translating that into a dominant position for yourself, versus the classic Western American wrestler who's just going to overpower you and inflict his will on you.
Right. Yeah.
That's a contrast I could pick out.
Interestingly,
in sports.
both of them work.
Both of them work.
This is not going to go well.
Yeah.
This is not going to go well. They're going to knock it over eventually.
Boys, can you play football somewhere else? Because you're going to hit the camera, or you're going to fall over, like that guy did.
Yeah, man. There's not like there's an entire park just there.
Oh man.
No. It's like right there.
You can't pray in public, but you can play football. The world's mad.
Fuck I. Anyway, man. So yeah, difficult times.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. On my head, son. On my camera. I've lost the. Oh yeah, you said that they work. I'm just trying to remember who was. I think one of the first UFCs. You ended up with a wrestler against a jiu-jitsu guy, and Gracie beat Ken Shamrock. I think it was.
It
was,
right.
And that put jiu-jitsu on the map as a way that a slighter less powerful athlete could dominate, the Mr. America, the might and the force. But yeah, they both work, and the best thing is to have them all.
For real, yeah.
Maybe that's true in philosophy. Accept, and there you go, your Stoicism. Accept what you can't change, but work as hard as you bloody well can to change what you can. And knowing where that line is the challenge, I guess.
Yeah, for real.